Well, hello. My name is Jim Rudick. I'm an endocrinologist in solo practice in Canton, but my passion is pretty much everything else. I have been a photographer most of my life, though I never really had any formal training, and I see photography mainly as a way of telling stories. And until COVID hit, that meant traveling. Well, one of my passions had been diving, but my last dive adventure, unfortunately, was a liveaboard in the Red Sea several years ago. But high on my bucket list was to have a close encounter with a huge, intelligent alien, and that dream finally realized in February 2019 when my brother-in-law joined me in Puerto Plata, that's in the Dominican Republic, where we reserved the last spot actually on a week-long adventure on the Explorer 2, which is a liveaboard ship operated by Tom Conlon's and Company Aquatic Adventures. Well, the cabin was clean and rather small. It was the matrimonial suite, the last one they had available. So we shared a smallish double bed, and some of the other guests would give us some knowing looks. Well, the Silver Bank lies about 80 miles northeast of Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic in the Atlantic Ocean. It's a submerged bank and coral reef that covers about 649 square miles in certain areas. And in certain areas it's shallow, about 60 feet or so, with some coral heads breaking the ocean surface at low tide. And in 1996, this area was declared a sanctuary for marine mammals by Dominican presidential decree. Well, it's a unique place that creates a naturally protected area for the northern Atlantic humpback whales that migrate every winter to give birth. So as autumn approaches, humpback whales from the western North Atlantic begin approximately a 1,200-mile journey south to the various calving and mating grounds located throughout the Antilles. Well, heavily pregnant female humpbacks will give birth on average on arrival in about 10 to 11 months gestation, while the males will start to seek out and compete for willing partners for mating. Well, the female humpbacks don't tend to mate every year, though they will come back into estrus shortly after giving birth. So the drive to reproduce makes a great deal of surface action as the males struggle for proximity to estrus females. And males will become extraordinarily vocal at the time, too, with their plaintive songs that fill the shallow seas. So we departed Puerto Plata and we anchored at the Silver Bank, making twice daily excursions in an 8-passenger boat. Well, just like Captain Ahab, we'd spot whales by their V-shaped plumes. They could hold their breath up to 40 minutes, and their exhaled breath had been clocked at up to 300 miles per hour. So it was easy to spot them, and there were a lot of whales out there. And we then would race to meet them with masts and fins instead of harpoons. Well, often these whales and their calves would chase us or cruise under the boat. They seemed to be curious about us as we were with them. And they would beat their enormous 15-foot flippers rhythmically against the surface, perhaps just for show. Then they come up from below and spy hop, clearly for our benefit. Often they would leap completely out of the water, all 30 tons, and sometimes in tandem. Well, there's 4 types of breaches, and there are spinning breaches, chin breaches, tail breaches, and lunge breaches, and we saw all forms. They may be a form of solicitation, a warning device, a way to remove parasites, who knows? Or they might just be having fun. Either way, it's pretty impressive at close range. Well, the fluke or the tail fin of a humpback is very broad and flat, average 10 to 15 feet. And interestingly, they have a serrated edge and unique coloring of black and white markings on the tail, which makes it fairly easy to identify individuals with photography. And a rowdy competitive group is when 2 or more males, usually males, compete for proximity to females in estrus, so they're chasing the women. The rowdy groups are fast-paced bursts of speed, up to 12 miles at a time. They're energetic and often violent, and it's a blast to follow these in a small boat. Well, chasing whales and having them chase us was indeed a thrill, but jumping into the water with them was something entirely different. So Tom essentially pioneered this effort. About 30 years ago, he discovered that humpbacks could be approached if it was done quietly and with great respect. Well, the Silver Bank is a place to rest and raise calves in preparation for the long northward migration to the feeding grounds from Maine, Newfoundland, Labrador, Greenland, and Iceland all the way to Scandinavia. So we would try to find a nursing mother and her calf actually resting in the shallow depths, often accompanied by a male suitor. And the object was to slip silently into the water as a group. then slowly approach the whales. They would either swim away or ignore us, or occasionally engage with us. The calves were very curious and playful. And one time I was watching a mother and her calf at the surface when Paul violently pulled on my fin, pointing down, and just below us was the male. And I was just able to snap a photo of his tail 3 feet from me as he slowly swam off. Well, these gentle monsters have an uncanny special sense. A little nudge of that tail could have done some real damage, but they didn't. Also, these encounters are very closely regulated by the Dominican government, so there's not too much pressure on the whales. They actually either ignored us or they enjoyed our company. There is 16 populations of humpbacks around the world. 4 of them are considered endangered and 1 is threatened. But unlike most of the terrible environmental news, this one seems to be a success story, because the global population has been rebounding since whaling was banned in the 70s. It's estimated now there's currently between 120 and 150,000 humpbacks. Well, humans are still the whale's biggest threat, either when they're struck by ships or entangled in commercial fishing gear. That's the problem. But I was really fortunate to have lost my camera gear on the plane, and so the crew let me borrow this cute little Olympus TG6. It's an indestructible little camera, waterproof to 50 feet, with a 4x optical zoom and a 4K video. I had no need to bother with O-rings or histograms. I had more time to experience the whales. And all in all, this was a life-changing week. The phrase, "we are all in this together," used to ring hollow. Now that I've met the alien, I know we're pretty much the same. So if you're really interested in the ultimate whale photographer, there's a photo book by Brian Skerry, Scerry. It will blow your socks off. There's also a four-part documentary featuring his photography on the Disney Channel. I hope this has been interesting. Thanks for watching.